Nope, that's what I had. 68.2. Ugh. All right. So, Antifa. You showed me an article. I read through it. It kind of reported on, from the Daily Caller, a conservative joint, reported on Antifa incidents from January through roughly August 2017. Indicated that, about in cities across the country, about 400 Antifa protesters were arrested for rowdiness and what you'd call thuggery, including 217 in one incident. And several dozen people on the other side were hurt to various extents. You agree with all that, pretty much?
I didn't read the article.
You just showed me the article? You
Yeah,
didn't read
because
it?
what it was it was just a timeline. It went across the United States, showing all the places where there were hundreds of riots and protesters and people going to jail. And I thought, well, that's pretty convincing. Rick doesn't think any of this happened.
Yeah, I didn't say that, but 400 or so, maybe 450 were arrested in the first roughly 8 months of last year. But then my rebuttal is, compare that to hate crimes, which usually are associated with the right versus the left. Nope, that doesn't count? None of the people on the right?
No, because hate crimes could be anything. It could be anybody against anybody, and it's not. Hate crimes aren't politically motivated necessarily.
Well,
you could say I don't like Italian Americans. And that's a hate crime.
But they're mostly they're more associated with the right than with the left.
No, they're not. It's not Republicans going out and beating people up. Hate crimes are.
Well, neither is the Democrats going out and beating people up as Antifa. Antifa people are way beyond being Democrats for the most part.
Who do you think Antifa people vote for? Bernie Sanders or Trump?
They vote for Bernie Sanders, or they vote for Jill Stein, or they vote for some lunatic you haven't even heard of. The same way that people on the hate crime side are more likely to vote for Trump.
Why were they protesting Trump's inauguration in the first of many of the famous incidents?
They're on the left. The same way a lot of alt-righters, it's right in their name, alt-right.
Where are the alt-right organizations that are causing huge riots across the United States?
It's not huge riots where you've got a total of 400 to 450 people arrested in 8 months.
Rick, if you're arresting hundreds of people, that's a huge riot.
There was one riot where 217 people got arrested.
Do you realize what that's like? When you're hauling off 270 people to jail,
17.
Do you realize what kind of a riot had to occur?
Yeah, a lot of people going apeshit. That happened once in that 8 months. The other times it was no more than a dozen or so people at a time.
Even a dozen, because most of the time police let these people do their thing. They don't want to have to do that.
Anyway.
Isn't there Muslim persecution now as well?
I don't know, but let me give you my statistic. The statistics from the FBI said that in 2016 there were roughly 6,050 reported hate crimes, with hate crimes being among the least reported type of crime, with 90% of jurisdictions not turning in any statistics for hate crime. And also with hate crimes having gone up for the last 4 years running, increasing 12% from 2016 to 2017, going from about 6,000 to about 6,800. And with those types of crimes, with there being no comprehensive national database, a database that only encompasses about 10% of jurisdictions. So, and let me ask you, it's a common sense thing. Which is scarier, seeing a bunch of people walking down the street with Confederate flags, or seeing a bunch of people walking down the street wearing pussy hats?
Okay, that's very comical and irrelevant. It's laughable to me that you don't make that you're not understanding this. Hate crimes can be something, has nothing to do. It's not it is inopposite to Antifa. Antifa is a political movement. A hate crime could mean that an Arab is attacking a Jew. A Muslim could be attacking a Jew. It could mean a white was attacking a black. It could mean a black was attacking a Hispanic. Hate crimes have nothing to do with political movements. They can, but they're not. It's not the same as Antifa. So your analogy is poor.
Even if it's poor, you're looking at 400 versus 6,000.
Yeah, but actually, it's kind of amazing. If you go over the entire United States, every single time somebody of one ethnicity or one gender got mad at somebody of another religion or gender or ethnicity, 6,000 of that is, I would assume, is pretty normal. 400 people being carted off to jail because they rioted, because they want to make America Marxist or Democrat, to me is sedition.
Fine. Okay, so
Here's a number for you guys. It says, it reads here, Reuters, U.S. anti-Muslim hate crimes rose 15% in 2017. Is that significant or not, would you say, Rick?
yeah, I mean, it goes along with the overall number of hate crimes increasing by 12% between 2016 and 2017.
Yeah, but again, just to be fair, a lot of Muslim groups have attacked Jews.
But this is anti-Muslim hate crime.
Right, I know, but there are also anti-Jewish hate crimes going on by Muslims.
There you go. That's the burp we were looking for.
You burped on my line. Did you get that? Did you get that?
Yeah.
I'm yelling up at a
I mean,
mic.
we could take a break and look at how many hate crimes are committed by whitey versus other types of people. But anyway,
This isn't a
we
hate
could-
crime show, so,
Yeah, so let's move
what
on.
was the next subject?
Dossier.
Dossier, you have
I
something
got
you can
5
say about
minutes
that
on the
fucking
dossier. It just
again.
happened this week. I have a running, for those of you new to the show, Rick believes that much of the dossier is true, and therefore Trump needed to be surveilled by the FBI. I hope I'm not mischaracterizing your viewpoint.
That's close enough. Yeah, I
Okay,
think so.
just this week, it turned out that the reason it was revealed, the FBI was forced to release by a court, Freedom of Information Act, why they didn't hire Christopher Steele, why they fired him and didn't rehire him. And Christopher Steele was the author of the dossier. The dossier, just to remind everybody, actually says that Trump was colluding with Russia because Putin wanted Trump to be elected. And so, I mean, you can argue, and Rick and I have for hours, but I guess that's the most serious charge, and that's basically what it says that we need to worry about. And the FBI released a document today, this week, and it's the week of September the 9th, that they refused to rehire Christopher Steele because what was written in the dossier was minimally verifiable and minimally verified. So what that means is that's when the FBI says something is minimally verifiable, it means that basically they don't really believe it, and they can't prove it, and they haven't proved it, and they don't, and they have. The FBI doesn't act on things that are minimally verifiable. It just means it's a pile of shit. They act if it says this is verified, this is 90% verified. We really think this is true. Whatever. But minimally verifiable means we're letting this guy go because the information's not worth anything. Now, there's 2 reasons why this is significant. The first is that this is what Devin Nunes said about the dossier about 5 months ago, and Rick jumped on it. He said, well, Devin Nunes has been discredited He's been debunked or something. Rick has something bad to say about every single Republican. And then I had to defend Nunez and say the ethics committee found nothing on him. He was completely exonerated. But 5 months ago or so, I used a number, might have been 6, might have been 4.
Yeah, you're fine, go ahead.
Did say that the dossier was minimally verifiable, same phrase. And that means that the dossier is basically discredited. Now, the second reason this is significant is that the entire Russian collusion theory rests on the dossier. I know Rick doesn't believe that.
No, I disagree with that.
Okay.
But that's fine.
No. This is fascinating because month by month, document by document, I'm showing that Rick has no reason to believe that Trump colluded with Russia to get elected. And now I'm providing something that was released from the FBI on the main source, the only source Rick knows of.
No, there's other sources that they use.
But you don't know what those are, do you, Rick?
No, but that's
You just
mostly
think
true.
there are.
Yeah,
You think there's something other than the dossier,
well, I
don't
trust
you,
the
Rick?
sources who say that the dossier was not the
I know,
sole...
the Democrats told you that there's something else, right, Rick? But you don't know what it is, do you?
Go ahead, that's fine. You make that's your
Okay,
call.
so the reason given by the court, by the FISA court, that's the Foreign Intelligence FISA Surveillance Court, the reason given to allow the surveillance was the dossier. Rick doesn't believe that,
No,
but
it was
part
of
it
it.
was
It
claimed
wasn't
to be the
all of
reason.
it.
Okay, and the dossier is the main thing that says that Trump colluded with Russia, and now the FBI released a document saying that they don't believe the dossier, that it has not been verified, and it is minimally verifiable. So now Rick has nothing. There's virtually nothing Rick can think of.
All I have
I
is-
could give Rick 6 hours, and he would not be able to come up with one credible source justifying a belief that he holds that Trump colluded with Russia.
You like to say that I hold that belief.
I know, and then you always worm your way out of it because you don't have any convictions whatsoever, Rick.
No, all I can say is wait and see.
Yeah, and you know what?
And why should I
You know
have
what?
convictions about matters of fact that haven't been established one way or the other?
Because in the United States, we do not sic the Justice Department and the FBI on people that have no evidence that they've committed a crime, where there is no crime. That is, okay, you have to have a reason to sic the FBI on somebody. If you have a document that says, hey, we think this guy's colluding with the Russians, you have to have some proof of that.
All right, so here's what I'll give you. I'll buy this whole line of argument if, now you badgered me with frickin' the IRS and Lois Lerner and all that stuff. A lot. And you have the deal where a court eventually forced people from the IRS to apologize to the Tea Party. So if the FBI is ever forced to apologize to Trump by some official agency, then I'll be like, okay, yeah. But
Well, the top 5 people of the FBI have been fired or forced to resign.
yeah,
They're all
and-
under investigation.
So let's see how it goes. So
I mean, they're
Wait
not.
and see.
They didn't apologize, but they're under investigation by independent courts.
So wait and see. Let's see what happens. And let's see what the courts establish. Let's go on to the next topic.
Real
Let's.
quick, didn't Mueller get a victory by the sentencing of Papadopoulos? What is it, Snuffleupagus?
George Papadopoulos.
Papadopoulos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got 14 days for
Well, because he
getting
cooperated.
for getting a timeline wrong.
Yeah. All right. So
was a
what's the
perjury
next
trial.
topic?
How much was spent in his investigation? I'm curious.
$7.7 million, even though Trump said it was $28 million.
Got the number wrong.
I got 7.7 wrong?
No, I'm just saying, if you get the number wrong, then your argument falls
Well, it
apart.
depends
right?
on by how far you get the number wrong. 28 million versus 7.7 million is off by
Well,
260%.
all right.
Would you say that's-
Overall, the Mueller investigation has cost many millions of
You
dollars.
say it's good taxpayer money spent, well spent.
It's what investigations cost.
Lance, you wanted to talk about enemy of the people.
Okay. I guess the argument is Trump keeps saying that the press is the enemy of the people, and it's true. And the reason is that the press keeps lying about what's happening with Trump. Although I have to say, the New York Times this week said that the economy is going wonderfully. So I guess we should never. I guess that's an endorsement.
So
from the
news
New
you
York
agree
Times.
with isn't fake.
Well, because it's true. I'm sorry, but the economy is going well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so, but I'll tell you why I think the press is the enemy of the people. Because they cover up Trump's things that would be favorable to Trump, and they lie and they make stuff up in order to help the Democrats. And I'll give you an example in my personal life. For the past few months, for over 2 years now, the press has been telling Rick that that Trump colluded with Russia. And Rick and all the Democrats I know believe that. Rick says he's not sure. I mean, he worms his way out, depending on how
Why
you
am I
phrase
not
it.
allowed to not be sure?
He's not sure. He's not sure. And
Why is that so bad?
Well, all right. You know what?
I know. Actually, you don't have to tell me.
We've already
I know
gone
why
over
it's-
that.
yeah, all right.
Now, but what I find interesting is this: I've had discussions with people with Democrats besides Rick, and they all say the same thing: Trump colluded with Russia. Trump colluded with Russia, because that's what the press has been telling him. And I watch MSNBC, and I sometimes see that dark-haired woman that Rick likes.
Rachel Maddow.
Yeah, Rachel Maddow. Trump colluded with Russia. Trump colluded with Russia. She says it. She implies it. They all have been saying this. And there's no evidence for it.
She's pretty facty.
So when it's full of facts. So when I ask Democrats, over the past few months, I've asked every single Democrat if it would be a big deal if Russian and American troops had a battle where hundreds of people were shot or blown up. And they all said, well, yeah, that'd be a big deal. I say, should it be on the cover of the newspaper? Well, yeah, I mean, American and Russian forces fighting. I guess that's a big deal. Yeah, hot war between Russia and America. Should it be big, huge, bold type in the newspapers? Well, yeah. Should they do maybe an hour about it on CNN? Well, yeah, I guess they should. But I raised this subject a couple of months ago because I realized that Rick had never heard about it. And since then, not a single Democrat I know knows that Russian and American troops had a battle in Syria. Now think about that. The U.S. press is keeping a myth going that Trump colluded with Russia based on a dossier that is completely discredited by the FBI and the Justice Department. However, the fact that there was a battle between Russian and American soldiers in Syria, not a single Democrat knows anything about. To me, that is proof right there that the Democrat press are liars and scum.
I feel like I knew a little bit about it before you told me.
Yeah, well, we could go back to the actual tape.
Yeah.
Where you seemed like a duck that had been hit on the head. That was your reaction. What?
Wait,
American,
hold on.
American
You're
and
triggering
Russian
me.
soldiers.
You're triggering me. My dad, when he was a child, had a pet duck named Douglas the Duck. And his mom, who was not the nicest lady, one night served duck for dinner and told my dad and his brother that they were eating their pet duck. So do not talk about a duck that's been hit in the head.
Did that really happen?
Yes.
Was it really their duck?
It was really their duck. My
Whoa.
grandmother
Whoa.
was not maybe the nicest lady.
You know, it's funny to me how often stuff like that used to happen. Like,
Yeah.
she would not have been considered a bad grandma back then.
Yeah.
Like, for the younger people in our viewing audience, hey, serving your kids their pet for dinner wasn't the worst thing you could do as a parent. You'd probably get a lot of parents were not considered bad parents for doing things
Well,
like
parenting wasn't even a verb. I mean, a noun. It wasn't even a word, basically, until like the 80s. If you can Google how often a word showed up in the language by year, and it's parenting isn't even a thing that people considered. You know.
I want our snowflake audience to hear this story. My brothers and sisters, I avoided this because I had a different parent, I had a different father. But my brothers and sisters and cousins were all beaten every day by their parents. And they weren't beaten with an open hand, they were beaten with objects. And that was every day, and no one said that was bad parenting. There was
no such word as parenting
It was
in
perfect.
the 60s.
Well, word or not, it was perfectly normal to beat your kids.
Rick, why are you holding that? Is that a political sign that you're signaling?
Oh, you want to segue into, all right. So during the Kavanaugh hearings, a woman named Zena Bash, who works for Kavanaugh and also works for the Immigration Department, was sitting behind him and was visible on camera. And she apparently one day did this with her hand. I mean, you can see it she did this with her hand on camera. And
See?
it seems like an unlikely position to put your hand. She takes a phone call and then she smiles and then she puts her hand like this. And people think she was throwing what is now considered to be the white power sign. White, W here, P down here, white power. And this is an interesting sign because it's considered to be a fake sign of white power by people on the right that's used just to drive liberals crazy, get them all worked up, to piss on the liberal anthill. And she did it again the next day, but actually if somebody showed me like an analysis of the tape, and it actually turns out that, I mean, I am convinced that the second time, because her husband had to apologize after the first time she threw it on Wednesday, but when it happened on Thursday, she was actually signaling somebody, Kavanaugh needed a glass to hold water. And she had the glass, somebody from off camera puts the glass on camera, you can see just half of the glass, and then she goes like this, like, she's not saying throwing white power, she's saying, oh, that's A-okay. No, hold on. All right, so I'm convinced she wasn't frickin' trolling the liberals or owning the libs. She was just saying, like, when Eddie Murphy did this in Beverly Hills Cop, he was saying, hey, everything's okay. But it is a weird symbol because it's the same symbol as everything's A-okay, and people on the right say that it's not a real symbol of white power, it's just a thing that they do to work up the liberals. So I was having a discussion with our director who suggested, well, if this is going to work up the liberals, we need a sign to work up the conservatives. So I came up with that sign, and it's this. And what it is, this is the blue wave that's going to hit in 2 months in voting booths. But it also stands for Trump has a tiny penis that doesn't work anymore. Are you worked up? Are you triggered?
Well, he's got Melania. I just wanted to say, Rick, you said that her husband apologized. He had nothing to apologize
Well, no,
for.
he explained and said
He
it
didn't
was-
apologize. I read his response. He said
I didn't, so I don't
No,
know.
he said that people that suggested his wife is a white supremacist, flashing white supremacist signs, are assholes. It was he was
Okay.
very. He didn't use the word assholes. He said they were terrible. I mean, it was very. He was really angry.
Okay.
And he said it's rotten that they would do this, but I think it's excellent that the Democrats can't win on the facts. They have to make things up about people. Democrats just as they won't report a battle between Russian and American troops, they also have to lie about Russia colluding with Trump, and they also have to lie about this woman showing white supremacist signs.
I just
Your side can't win on the truth.
Well, I just spent like 3 minutes explaining why she wasn't throwing a white power sign.
but the point is that your side does go to that. I realize that you're not as bad as your side, but your side you can't win without just saying that everyone is a white supremacist. And I hope that people watching this, it's getting to the point where I know a lot of people, our Democrats, are saying, look, I can't just keep saying that every Republican I know is a white supremacist. It doesn't make any sense anymore.
But liberals don't say that.
No, but you've said that about me in this show. I remember one time we had an argument about the immigration policy, and you were saying, you know what, if this wasn't brown people, you wouldn't be upset. Like, you tried it on me.
Okay.
Yeah,
but,
so I'm just saying,
like,
it's the only thing you guys can do because you failed at every other aspect of leading the country. And so you have to lie about
guys
your opponents.
gerrymandered the shit out of the country.
And Democrats gerrymander too.
No, but not as effectively as you guys did in 2010.
I don't believe you. I think
Well, then
I
you
think
gotta look
both,
at the
both
frickin'
sides
statistics.
gerrymander. And
if you look at it
but
in-
wait, even if your side could win by bringing in millions of illegal aliens and having them vote, even if you could win, it wouldn't change the fact that you've got to lie about your record. You have to pretend that Obama made very bright decisions, and he didn't. It was a disastrous presidency.
Oh, all right, okay, wait, let's do this, because I saw some numbers. I don't want to bring this up again, but I guess I have to. Where you excused G.W. Bush for getting us into the Iraq War, and I looked up some war statistics, and you say Obama was responsible for the deaths of roughly 100,000 people in Libya by bringing down Gaddafi, though it was an international coalition. But
Oh, wait a minute. I don't want to be committed to a number because if I say 98,000
I
and
know,
it's
but-
96,000, you'll think you won the argument.
no, I've explained like 3 times now that if it's off by a little, fine. If it's off by 10 times,
Rick, they brought back slavery to Libya.
All right, so-
because of Obama, black people are being held in slavery in unprecedented
all right,
numbers.
that's bad. They fucked up.
Yeah, they fucked up, but you'd
All right.
still vote for him, right?
Probably, but you excused G.W. Bush. But if you look at the various estimates of the people who died from 2003 through 2007 in Iraq, with the invasion and then the Civil War, estimates run from a low of 100,000 to up to 1.1 million.
That 1.1 million was the Lancet report.
Right,
And
which
that's what you're basing this on? Are you basing it on the Lancet report?
I'm saying
Rick?
that was one of.
So you read that?
No, somebody cited it to me.
Okay, excellent, Rick. Thank you. Rick just went out and he got the Lancet report that said 1.2 million.
1.1.
1.1. The Lancet report has been completely discredited.
Okay.
We can look up many articles, I'm happy to do it, that shows that the Lancet report was written by people that hated Bush and they wildly exaggerated the numbers. So you just quoted something that's been completely debunked.
But what I quoted was estimates across. That wasn't the only source that was quoted. I said the estimates range from 100,000 to 1.1 million. So if that's been discredited, then I can throw that out and we can look at the next highest estimate, because we're looking at we could probably find 6 or 8 or 10 different estimates. But
it amazes me how illogical your mind is. For a man of such scientific qualifications, you can't put it together that there may have been reasons to depose Saddam, but there was no reason not to leave 2,000 men in Iraq to keep the peace.
yeah, but I'm just saying, you excuse G.W. Bush, whose actions...
Because there may have been reasons for that war. But there was no reason to pull the troops out of Iraq
Well, there actually
and
were
have
reasons.
250,000 people murdered.
Is it 250,000?
Yeah, it's up to 250,000 now.
Right.
According to the Iraq Body Count, which is an organization that is trusted by the UN.
Okay, but I'm just saying that...
There was no reason to pull the troops out, but we were in the middle of an antagonistic relationship with Iraq, with a man that was murdering hundreds of thousands of his own people, even if we didn't do anything. So we were trying to put an end to Saddam, and we, in the process, were putting an end to his torture of his own people.
So
We used war to stop him, yes, and people died.
What I'm saying is, you excuse that. That's completely justified.
But there was no justification to leave Iraq in civil war, to leave it and cause the country to collapse. It was completely unnecessary. And it was completely unnecessary to decapitate Libya and leave it in civil war. It's the difference between a war that was arguably justified and completely irresponsible behavior leading to terrible tragedy.
So, George W. Bush goes to war, leaves Iraq in civil war.
That's not true. According to Obama in 2011, he said that Iraq was now stabilized. According to your president that you voted for twice, Iraq was stabilized. I can find the YouTube clip of Obama saying it. Iraq was stabilized. He now felt he was able to pull the troops out without any harm coming to Iraq.
Yeah, so he's fucked up there. But
Yeah,
from 2003 to 2007, there was definite hot civil war that led to the deaths
Yes,
of...
I understand that. But
And
there
somehow
was
you-
a
so somehow-
justification for the war.
So,
There was we thought it was a good thing to remove Saddam Hussein.
but it wasn't.
Well, I know
Especially
you
not-
like Saddam, right? He was okay by you.
Well, you like Gaddafi. He's okay by you. It's pretty
Well,
symmetrical,
no,
but
it's
you
not the same
excuse
thing.
one
It's
thing.
not the same thing because
It's not the same thing. One is justified, the other isn't
no,
justified.
because when we removed Gaddafi, we did not leave a peacekeeping force.
And
Are you that dense?
And when we removed...
Wait, Rick. We left a peacekeeping force in Iraq. We did not leave a peacekeeping force in Libya. Let that sink in.
And when we removed Saddam Hussein, we had
Yes.
no plan for the peace.
We
The
left.
people who-
No, Rick.
So there
Rick,
wasn't a peace in place
There
until after 2007.
there was a transition. There was a transition.
It took years.
Wasn't fast enough for you, huh, Rick?
No, because in those years, hundreds of thousands of people died.
Rick.
That you excuse,
Rick.
so that's justified.
Yeah,
But the other
it's-
piece, so you're a
it's po-
hypocrite.
it's-
The deal is you're a hypocrite.
Yeah, and
if
the-
Obama did it, it's not excused. If Bush did it, it's excused. There were good reasons.
Rick.
That's it. I mean, that's
No,
it. And
no,
that's
no,
my
no.
argument in a nutshell.
I know, and it's
But you're
it's a poor argument. Your logic is faulty because we conducted a war in Iraq. After the war, which I believe was justified, there was a guerrilla reprisal. The Iraqis chose guerrilla warfare, which took a few years to put down. That's normal. Pulling troops out and leaving a country in chaos where 250,000 people die predictably, that's irresponsible and evil.
So I'll keep saying this.
So
500
I'm going to
times.
say this. I'm going to say that Obama is evil and that you support somebody that's evil. And I'm going to say that George Bush was unable to put down the rebel forces quickly enough for your satisfaction. But he did.
So under Bush, from 2003 to 2007,
The numbers, it's just numbers, right? It doesn't matter why things were happening. Just numbers here, numbers there. You can't comprehend that there were different circumstances.
Well, no,
They're exactly the same circumstances.
They seem pretty symmetrical.
You can't. It's symmetrical.
They seem.
So let me get this straight. If you are fighting a war and people die, and you're fighting a brutal dictator, that's the same as pulling out a peacekeeping force and letting that country collapse into chaos. That's the same thing to you.
And that's not what I'm saying is the same thing.
Well, then why are you comparing them?
Because in one case, we take out a brutal dictator.
Yeah.
And in the next 4 years, conservatively, 300,000 to 400,000 people die. You know, their estimate's a little lower than that. And
Well, they
estimate's a
kept
lot higher than
fighting,
that.
Rick.
Okay, so they did. But that's under Bush. Now,
Right.
under Obama, we take out a brutal dictator.
No.
You say,
Well, and we didn't leave a peace. We didn't leave a
And-
force in Libya. Are you talking about Libya right now?
I think so, yeah. And you say that 250,000 people die. So under one.
No.
it
Under
is
Libya,
just-
I'm not saying 250,000 people die. I'm saying that many, many thousands in slavery is brought back, and that is now a failed state. There's total chaos there
Yeah.
because your man did not leave a peacekeeping force in Libya. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Was that intelligent? Is it the same thing as what Bush did?
Well, according to my sources and what I've read, the people who, Rumsfeld and everybody else who planned the Iraq war, didn't adequately plan for after the war. The quote that comes up most often in reference to that is that they thought we would be greeted with, the American troops would be greeted with flowers
And
by the
you
Iraq
believe
people.
that this is an intelligent argument. You really believe this?
I believe that-
Rick, you've got one of the highest IQs in America.
Yeah, so you should listen to me.
So Rick, the war did not go as planned. I'll tell you
'Cause
why.
the planning was
No,
shit.
No, Rick. Because the enemy gets a vote. First rule of military policy. Whatever plan you have, the enemy gets a vote. Now, after we invaded Iraq, the enemy decided to keep fighting in irregular, asymmetric
'cause
warfare.
One of the
What is irregular,
it's guerrilla
asymmetric?
frickin' but
What's
li-
asymmetric warfare?
It's guerrilla warfare. Where
What's
the rules,
asymmetric warfare?
I assume it's where the rules of engagement on one side are not the same as the rules of
No,
engagement
that's
on the
not
other side.
asymmetric warfare. What's asymmetric warfare?
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay. Asymmetric warfare is when one side is using planes and tanks and artillery. They're using standard conventional warfare.
And the other side's
And-
using guerrilla warfare.
Right, that's
Which I-
asymmetric. That's asymmetric, which means the United States attempted to overthrow a dictator. They did not know what the population was going to do, and nobody could have known. So what happened was they had to keep fighting. Now that doesn't satisfy Rick.
Well, I'm just
Rick feels that he might have had a better plan. But when this war took place, no one knew what was going to happen, but they fought it out and they eventually won.
I'm going to say
And
again.
Obama claims that it was a complete victory.
You know, I'm going to say it again because I've said it 4 times now, and this is the last time we're going to move on. I'm saying that there was incompetence.
Incompetence. Is it the same as
No,
pulling
you're going to
out?
let me talk. Now, you always give me shit for interrupting. So I'm just going to state my thesis, and then we can move on, or you can yell at me one more time. But that there was incompetence in the Iraq War under Bush, which led to the deaths of several 100,000 people. And there was incompetence under Obama in Iraq and Libya, which led to the deaths of several hundred people. And I'm just saying that it's a little goofy that you excuse the one and call the other evil when there are lots of points of symmetry between them.
Okay.
You're saying one is entirely different from
Okay,
the other.
Rick,
But that's
Rick,
it.
Rick,
That's
Rick.
it.
No, I'm not done.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, what my opponent fails to comprehend is that that what Bush did was fight a war with a tough opponent that refused to give up. And what Obama did was it wasn't mere incompetence. It wasn't like Bush being forced to continue fighting. What Obama did was criminal. Pulling out the troops of Iraq from Iraq, the peacekeeping force, was the most irresponsible, evil act of an American president ever. Because it was against the advice of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, all the Republicans, and even Hillary Clinton. And it led, predictably, as an artist working in a ghetto knew, to the deaths of 250,000 people. In Libya, Obama overthrew a dictator and left a country in homicidal chaos. That's not the same as fighting a war with a tough opponent who won't give up quickly enough to make Rick feel good. Sorry, they didn't give up.
All right,
they
so
had to
let's
keep
move on.
fighting.
Okay,
That's
so you got-
not criminal incompetence.
All right, so you got
That's not evil.
You got the last word. Let's move on. How much time do we have, and what's the next
You
topic?
have 5 minutes, and do you want to wish your Jewish brethren a Happy New Year?
I think tonight is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. And Lance, you're a spiritual guy.
I was spiritual until an hour ago.
Why don't you go to
Now
temple?
I'm a man this close to hell.
Why aren't you at temple tonight, Lance? Celebrating the New Year.
Is this a religious holiday?
I think so, isn't it? Yeah, it's Rosh Hashanah.
I'm not what they call a practicing Jew. And the reason is that I don't believe in rituals. In fact, I think they can get in the way of spirituality. I actually, like a lot of people, turned off by organized religion. I think that a lot of I think that paying too much. A lot of religious people spend a lot of time in church, and a lot of these prayers are in Hebrew language I don't understand, and I don't believe I don't believe that the rituals get you close to God. They're good for people. I think that I don't want to criticize Orthodox Judaism, because people that observe all the religious things, eventually I think they do take on a spiritual life. I think that it does help them from within.
You got to do religious push-ups.
But I also think that it's not the only way to God. And I think that there are other things to God that are other ways to become close to God that don't involve celebrating religious rituals.
Though, what about the cookies after the service? Also coffee cake.
You know what? Am I the only Jew that doesn't like Jewish food? It's basically peasant food from the Ukraine. You know
what I mean? It's good. A lot of it's good. Like kugel makes me nervous. It seems like it's mostly cholesterol, though it does taste good. But yeah, there's a lot of Jewish food that seems heart attacky to me. At the same time, a lot of it's pretty delicious.
Are there hot Jewish chicks at temple?
Yes. I've been married. I've been in a relationship with my wife since 1986. And I was terrible at hooking up before that. So I've been off the market for 32 years. But I have a brother who has been single for those 32 years and who is an observant Jew, and he meets lots of nice women via Judaism. He's not in Judaism for the women, but the women are there.
Lance?
No luck with Jewish women. You know what? That's a whole show. And it would probably be so tragic that people would be unable to face it, as I have been. So I think we should never raise the subject of Jewish women again and move on to another topic.
Well, let me just say that my wife is the only Jewish woman I've ever dated, and things have gone pretty well with her.
And we have 1 minute. Could you just kind of give us a recap in terms of what other Jewish holiday is?
Well, it's the 10 days of something between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the day that you're supposed to fast and sit in temple and think about all the shitty stuff you did over the past year and promise to do better next year. It's a great holiday. It's a personal responsibility holiday. I've been bad at it for the last decade or more because I can't face my shortcomings. But in principle, I support it. You know, I guess if I was going to atone, I've been buying too much stuff on eBay when I should be writing stuff so I can get another job sometime instead of remaining unemployed. You know, I drive I'm not the worst driver in the world, but I'm an angry driver. You know, and I go to 5 gyms a day, which wastes a lot of gas. I should go to one gym for 2 hours and quit with the OCD of gym to gym to gym. So I have plenty of stuff to atone for. Will that change my behavior? Probably not a whole lot.